Churches, mosques, synagogues have gone online for the most part during COVID-19. The state has restrictions on religious gatherings of more than 175 people. Last month, we did see a much larger crowd, though, at a religious gathering in Colorado Springs. Andrew Wommack Ministries went to court over this whole thing. They were denied, and now they're appealing it with help from a Florida-based nonprofit called Liberty Counsel. Our 9 News legal analyst and MSU professor Whitney Traylor is here to talk about that now. Whitney, good morning.
Good morning, Gary. Good morning, everyone.
So tell us about the parties to this case and the underlying legal issues that the court addressed.
Yeah, the parties I think are relevant. So you mentioned Andrew Wommack Industries. So his ministry was coming in and they actually wanted to do an event on October 5th that would have 600 to 800 people. And because of the restriction that you just mentioned of 175 people, they couldn't do that. So they then got Liberty Counsel, who is this religious organization out of Florida, to come in, and they're actually representing them and doing the argument. And they sought a preliminary injunction. So they basically said, look, court, we can't have our event because of this restriction, which is unconstitutional because it's being applied to religious organizations differently than everybody else, and it infringes on our First Amendment. We want to have our event. The Judge Arguello, a federal judge here in Colorado, denied that injunction. And here's one of her quotes. And she basically said, look, it's a health issue. The purpose of the injunction, or the purpose of the governor's order, is for public safety. And this would violate that. So she denied their injunction. So they're not able to have their event on the 5th.
So this group is going to appeal that ruling, and for instance, if it goes all the way to the Supreme Court, how might this new justice argument figure into all that?
It's a great question, and actually the appeal was filed the same day of the denial, and I think the appeal, I think they were trying to send a message by filing it so quickly. I pulled up the appeal. It's just a 2-page document here that doesn't say much other than, hey, we're appealing it. And I do anticipate that they are hoping to make law, and by having the new justice, if the new justice is appointed, then that could impact the outcome of the case. Obviously, we're talking about religious freedoms. That would definitely have an impact if Amy Coney Barrett was confirmed.
So have there been cases like this around the country? And if so, what have those rulings been like?
There have been, and actually Judge Arguello pointed that out, and she said basically the majority of cases have ruled that it is constitutional to put these restrictions on because it's a health issue. She also pointed out there is one Supreme Court case, though, that actually addressed the same issue out of a case out of California, and the court ruled that this restriction was constitutional, but it was a 5-4 ruling. And so with Justice Roberts siding essentially with the liberal justices. So now if they do take this case, and Justice Ginsburg obviously is no longer on the court, if we have a conservative court, there could be a different ruling. But one thing I'll point out, Gary, it's interesting to note, so many people are so adamant about these mass restrictions and their civil liberties and everything else, but these folks are silent on the TikTok situation, because in that case you had an executive order based on a suspicion of the Chinese basically being able to get our information without it actually going to court. And the executive order says, hey, TikTok, you're going to be sold. And nobody's worried. Like, that infringement, that ability of a president through an executive order to order a multi-billion-dollar company sold should be, in my opinion, would be much more concerning than some of these mask regulations.
Yeah, but when it comes to religion and rights and that sort of thing, it's turned into a big deal lately. All right, Whitney, as always, it's good to see you. Thanks. Be safe.
Sure.